So welcome to this session. Welcome back to uni for year two. I suppose what we're going to do in this session is offer you some advice on what you can do to advance your career this year. So some of you may have attended the Maths Welcome Talk with Marianne and myself last week, and it was great to see so many of you there. This is hopefully not going to duplicate that, but it will build on that a bit. So hopefully you'll find it useful. So just as a quick reminder, I'm Helen Frost. I am a careers consultant within the Faculty of Science and Engineering, but specifically I work with maths students as one of my departments. So colleagues, would you like to just introduce yourself, those of you on the call?
Yeah, I'll start. Hello, everyone. My name's Penny. I work with Helen and Hannah. I'm one of the career consultants in the main team. And it may be that you do actually book an appointment with me at some point during the year for a careers guidance appointment or indeed an interview simulation. So you will see me around.
Thanks, Penny. Hannah, do you want to just introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name's Hannah and I'm a careers advisor in the team and I work across FSC, so you might see me at drop-ins and things like that.
Brilliant. So you've got 3 out of 4 of us here today. The only one who's not is Ben Carter, who some of you may have seen around on campus before. So he's not able to join this session, but you may also be booking in for appointments and see him around quite a bit. So some of you will have attended the lecture that we did at the end of year 1 when we talked quite a bit about CVs, that sort of thing. Again, this is going to build on that. So without further ado, let's just move on. I suppose you're wondering, why is it important that you take action this year? Well, the way that we like to think about it is that year 1 is about familiarising yourself with your surroundings. So for lots of you, you were new to Manchester. It was about meeting people. It was about learning how to live independently, cook for yourself, all of that sort of stuff. But just generally starting to build your confidence about who you are and what you want to do. Year 2 is where you need to start taking action. So it's about starting to build those experiences that first of all will help you to start to explore things that you like, things that you're good at, test out what's possible, what your future scenario could be. But also it's about getting something good on your CV. And that's what we'd like to help you with, because so many students get to the end of their final year and they realise that all they've done is their degree. And so what we're going to do today is suggest some things that you do that will help you to build your CV, and then an employer will be a lot more interested in you. So how can you do that? Right, so this is a slide that we've pulled together, and I think one of my colleagues is just going to share that on the chat for you as well, because it's a digital slide with links. So once you get this, I would encourage you to just save that somewhere on your desktop or in your files, something like that, just as a reference point. So you can see that there's lots to get on with, lots to choose from. And this really just gives you a flavour of how much you could do this year, but it breaks it down into sort of bite-sized chunks. So per month, it talks to you about what you could be thinking about or doing. So for a lot of you on this call, you'll now be classed as a penultimate year student. And that wording is important because on quite a lot of employer websites, they have opportunities that are available for penultimate years. So people who are in their second year of a 3-year course. So that might be internships, it might be placements. So the fact that you're a penultimate year student is actually quite important. If you're not a penultimate year, you suddenly have quite a lot more open to you. So you've got a whole other year to do stuff. You don't have to take all of this now. You can probably read some of the things that are on the screen there. But when you have a sec, just have a look through this in your own time and click on some of the links and just find out what you could do at different times of the year. I suppose the most important message for me to you, currently in September going on to October, is for those of you who are considering doing a formal internship or a placement, now is the time that a lot of those are being advertised. Employers like to advertise these a year in advance, so please don't miss the boat by waiting a few months. There may be more available later, but a bulk of them are available now. So for those of you who are interested, please do click on some of these links on here, which will tell you where to go to find internships and placements. So let's start with some of the events and the ways that you can engage with careers and employability this semester. What's on? So first up, it's good news. The Career Service is back on campus mostly, but we recognise that you all have different preferences with how and when to access careers. So we've created a blended offer for you, which is a mix of both virtual and in-person events and interactions that you can choose between, like a pick and mix basically. So we now have our front desk, which is in the atrium. You'll find that in University Place on the first floor. Head to the back of the building and you will find our front desk, which is staffed, I think it's 9 till 5 roughly, but Monday to Friday, so it's working hours, and you can just call up at any time and ask your question, or if you're struggling to find something online, you call in and just have a chat with us. We've also got on-campus appointments and drop-ins throughout the semester as well. So an appointment is where you have to book it in advance, one-to-one. So you can do that through Career Connect. And a drop-in is where you just turn up. And the great news for you in math is that quite a few of our drop-ins are actually in the Ellen Turing building, in that big, I think it's Sports Centre or the study space that's at the front of your building. So have a look on Career Connect for when those are, and just pop along and say hello. Doesn't really matter what stage you're at, but we would love to talk to you at one of our drop-in events. If you can't find us on campus, we also have a number of online events as well. So we've got online Q&A sessions, which is a group event, very informal, where you just turn up to a Zoom call, we'll talk a little bit, and then people have an opportunity to ask their questions either on the chat or by coming off mute, or you can just turn up and listen as well. And our web chat facilities also exist as well. So if you are sitting in your halls and you think of a quick question, then you just access our web chat, which is on our Career Service website in the support section. So all of the details of these appointments, drop-ins and everything, when they're scheduled for, where they are all on Career Connect. So we'll be giving you a quick reminder of how to access that later. But also we have core resources on our website, so Career Service website. You can find that by a quick Google search. We've got a YouTube site, which I'm going to show you in a while. And also we have Career Connect, which is the 24/7 system where you can actually book things. Book onto events, book into appointments. But of course, fairs are actually back on campus this year as well. So in the past couple of years, they've been virtual. But I'm really pleased to say we have a STEM fair that is taking place on the 12th and 13th of October. For those of you who've never been to a careers fair before, or maybe you have and you're feeling a bit nervous about it, we have a session that the careers team are running on the 10th of October, which is prepare for the STEM fair. So if you're wondering what to expect, what questions to ask, how to approach employers in a confident way, what to get across about yourself, then please do come along to that session. It's on campus. I believe it's in Ellen Turing building as well, but full details are on Career Connect. The STEM fair itself, Wednesday and Thursday, 12th and 13th of October. Now it's primarily going to be STEM employers there, so science, technology, engineering and maths. It's employers that want to recruit you. They're not going to recruit you there and then on the day, but it is an opportunity for you to find out what's available, what opportunities there are, and just get a feel for some employers. Maybe there's some there that you won't have come across before. For those of you who maybe aren't interested in using your maths in a big way as part of your either internship, placement or graduate role, we have another fair that's happening on the 18th and 19th of October, which is our autumn fair. Now that's primarily for humanities students, but it's open for everyone to go to. And what you might just find there is there's a different mix of employers. So you'll find employers who are very open to accepting people from any course onto maybe a more wide and more generic range of roles. So head along there as well. We've also got our Meet the Graduate sessions, which is one that students really like because it's all of our alumni that come back and talk to you in a very informal way about how they got their job, you know, what their pros and cons were, what they do on a day-to-day basis. So if you're in that phase of still exploring, not sure what you want to do, head along to a Meet the Graduate session and you can see there's lots of different categories there on the different days, depending on what you're interested in. Okay, so that's the STEM fair. I mentioned a minute ago about our YouTube channel. So if you don't manage to make it to an event, a lot of them are recorded, especially the virtual ones. We also have a number of events that are recorded on here from over the last couple of years, and things probably won't have changed that much. So if you go onto our YouTube channel, if you just search for University of Manchester Career Service on YouTube, you will find it. We've quite handily segmented all of these into playlists. So you'll see a number of different playlists on there with different categories, from creating a CV, to further study, to networking. And there's also a complete section on there, which is specifically for science and engineering students. So have a look on there when you have a spare moment. Okay, so last year in our year one session, we laid out a range of services for you to try out. So hopefully you've had a chance to have a go at some of these. This year, what we'd like you to do is expand on some of those services and go a little bit deeper in terms of how you can make the most of them. So this is based, this slide, on the 3 approaches to career readiness. So these are the different stages. We've got explore, we've got prepare, we've got apply. So if you just have a read of those phrases that are in each of those sections there, and just have a bit of think about where you might sit. So are you at the point where you haven't really started thinking yet? You may be ready to start exploring. Are you someone who has done a bit of exploration and actually you're now looking for some experience, or you're not sure about what your next step is going to be? Or are you at that stage where you've done your exploration, you've done your preparation, and you're ready to apply? So that's when you'll be thinking about assessment processes and interviews and CVs and that sort of thing. So just have a think about where you are, because what we're going to do now is talk through each of those sections and give you some tips for each of them. So you've told us what you think might be some good places for maths students to go. But actually, what you've not realised is there's all these other options as well. If you think of any sector, in the UK, certainly, there will be mathematicians that work in that sector somewhere. Every business that you can think of has to have people that are numerate. So I'm going to, just hover over some of these. Hopefully we'll be able to upload these slides onto your Blackboard site, so you'll be able to hover over each of these as well, and it will take you through to a site where you can find out more. But think about, how you could use your maths in the NHS, how you could use it in pharmaceutical, in engineering, in the environment, maybe in law. Quite a few mathematicians go into law in the future, consulting. And funnily enough, I often get surprised views when I suggest that actually mathematicians are quite common in media and the creative services as well, because there's a lot of number crunching that goes on behind the scenes, program figures, or event organizing, where they need to work out who and when and what and where, and there'll be massive spreadsheets and databases behind the scenes. So people who are really numerate fit in really well in those sorts of organizations. So maybe now is the time to think about what you're good at is the maths, but actually what your passion is and what you love doing, maybe outside of university, outside of work, something a little bit different, and try and see how you can merge those two together. It might just give you a few more careers options. Okay, so how can you explore all of this then? As well as the areas that we've covered, it's important to know that there are other ways to explore your options. So the first tab on the Career Service website, so we've done a bit of a screenshot here, shows you which career. And then there's a section that says, I don't know what I want to do. So that's where you can go to start if you need some help just thinking through. But if you were to scroll down that list, that navigation bar on the left-hand side, you'll find lots of different sectors that you can go into and explore a bit about, you know, what's it really like to work in that sector, what jobs are available, and read about more, like where you can apply for jobs, internships, that sort of thing. At the bottom of the screen there, we've just got a screenshot of the Prospects website, which is external to the University of Manchester. They've spent many years compiling lots of information about the different jobs, what they're like, and there's lots of clickable things on there as well. So that's maybe a place for you to go to just to explore. One of your main tools, though, for exploring the career service is Career Connect. So again, I'm just going to share with you a quick demo on Career Connect. Let me see if I can just disappeared. Okay. Right, here we go. Got it. Let me just share. Okay, so this is Career Connect. Some of you will be familiar with this, others of you may not have been yet. The first thing to know is when you go into Career Connect, whether it's for the first time or the first time this year, is up at the top corner here. There's a section called Me. If you click in that, you can update your profile. And what that will do, so if we just look down here, Greg's details, who is obviously not a real person, Greg has filled in his interests and strengths. So animals, charities, he's interested in full-time work. You can also choose placements as something that you're interested in there, if you know, or internships, if that's something that you are thinking about. And what this will do by choosing those interests and strengths is it will tailor the information that you get sent. So you can set up job alerts, event alerts, that sort of thing, and they'll be tailored to what you're interested in. You might get a few random things as well that are nothing to do with what you want, but that might also open your eyes to some other stuff. So that's the first place to go when you go into Career Connect. I'll just take you back to the home screen again. I also mentioned before about events and where to find them on Career Connect. So let me just quickly show you where that is. You go into this search box here and then down to events, you will come to a page that looks like this. You can look through it in list view, but the way I like to look at this is on the events calendar, because sometimes I don't always plan ahead for weeks ahead of what I'm going to do. I want to know what's happening on campus now. Maybe I've got a spare hour in my timetable tomorrow and I want to see if there's any careers things going on that I can just turn up to. So this is this week on campus and also virtual. So you can see that today at 11 o'clock, there's an hour session on internships and work experience. At 1 o'clock this afternoon, there is getting started with your career. And if you hover over them, it gives you more information. So you can see that this one is actually on campus. If you click into it, you'll find whereabouts it is and whether you need to register or not. Tomorrow, we have got options for international students in the UK as well. So again, this is a workshop that you can turn up to on campus. All sorts of other things on here, getting CV and cover letter ready, again on campus. But also what you'll find is there are some employer events on here as well. So those of you who might be considering a career in finance or banking might be interested in something like this. So HSBC are running an online session all about their graduate programs. If that's something you're considering, head along there, because they sometimes give you tips about their application process and what they're looking for. So anyway, that's just very quickly the event section. What you can also do here, I've talked about vacancies. So if you are at the stage where you're looking to apply to something, this is where you can look. So it's just a jobs board, similar to those that you will have seen just on the internet generally. You can use keyword searches if there's a specific sector or area that you're looking for, or you can filter down here. If those of you who are looking for a placement or an internship, you can either type it in here, or maybe you can go to vacancy type. So if you filter on vacancy type, you can see that you can select their industrial placement. You could choose short placement or internship if it's just summer that you're looking for. And you can already see that there are some that are quite relevant to maths students on there. So I would encourage you have a look on that vacancy section as well. And one final place that I just want to show you is appointments. So if you click on, appointments, no, sorry, that's not the right one. Book is where you go for appointments. So if you click on book and then appointments, this is how you could book in yours on a one-to-one basis. So at the minute, you might not find many of these appointments available, because a lot of what we're doing is these drop-ins on campus. So probably the first place to go is to one of the drop-ins. It's exactly the same as an appointment, but you just don't have to book it. So there's more chance of you getting seen. The appointments are where you want a one-to-one conversation. We'll do those either virtually or on campus, depending on what is available. So that's just a very quick whiz round Career Connect, but please do have a look around that in your own time. So I'm going to hand over to Penny now, if she just wants to take control of the screen, who's going to talk to you a bit about that next stage. So we've talked about explore, we're now going to move on to prepare. So Penny, over to you.
Thank you, Helen. So yeah, I've just been answering questions there in the chat. The events that Helen's just been talking about, they are all available on Career Connect. So you do need to make sure you activate your account. You have got an account already, you just need to log in and make sure you activate that. Okay, so I'm hoping you can see that prepare yourself screen. Helen, could you just give me a thumbs up if that's okay? That's great, lovely, thank you. So as Helen said, there are particular stages that we...
Sorry, Penny, it's just on presenter view.
Presenter view.
It's on presenter view.
Yes, and we can see your presenter notes.
Okay, let me just change that. Sorry about that. So let me try again. No, just bear with me a second. Not doing very well here, are we? Let's go back down to here. There we go, explore the options.
It was prepared.
Prepare, yeah, thank you. Okay, so yeah, as Helen was saying, we feel like that typically working with students, there are three sort of stages that you might be, whether you're exploring, you might be at that stage of preparing, or you might indeed be applying for vacancy. So Helen's just covered that explore. I'm going to look at the preparation stage now. So this is where you might be looking for experience, you're thinking about skills that you may want to develop. You may also be uncertain about your next step and just want to kind of figure out what's out there. So we're just going to give you some tips and advice around that today. In terms of preparation for your skills and thinking about what's out there, we have got a series of workshops taking place. These are typically held in the atrium. So that's over in University Place on campus. Between Monday and Thursday, there's a series of workshops. Now, these are all listed on Career Connect, so that's that platform that Helen was just showing us. And again, I tend to use the calendar view as well, and you can look on there and see what's coming up. But there are various workshops to help you build your skills, so things like networking, knowing how to speak to employers if you're at a networking event, or indeed if you're coming along to the career fairs, you know, what do you say to those employers when you meet them? What sort of questions might you ask? So there are various workshops taking place to help you build your confidence and also your skills. We have also got the mock virtual assessment centre. As part of a recruitment process, you may be invited to attend an assessment centre. So that's typically where they invite a number of candidates along on a particular day, and you'll go through a series of activities. They may ask you to do some group exercises, maybe some presentations. So again, if you've not done that sort of activity before, we would encourage you to come along to that and get some practice before you do the real thing. LinkedIn, I think it's fair to say our team are really big on LinkedIn. We use it a lot. We promote a lot of our events on there. I know I certainly tag opportunities that are available to our students. So using LinkedIn can actually be a great way to find out what's going on, but also to connect with people who are out in industry and starting to build your own knowledge and getting an insight into maybe a particular role that you're interested in. We're fortunate that we have alumni working in lots of different businesses and right across all the sectors that exist. So we have got the alumni tool on LinkedIn, and you can actually search for people that have been in your situation. So they're Manchester alumni and they're working out in industry. You may even want to target a particular company. So if you've got a particular organisation that you really want to work for, it's definitely worth you starting to build some connections in that company, targeting maybe recent graduates who've recently joined the firm and asking them, how do they get their job? What do they have to do during that recruitment process? And just getting some advice and tips. And I think you'll find that alumni are really helpful. They want to kind of share their advice because they've been where you are. They know, what you're about to experience. So please do think about using that tool on LinkedIn. As I say, we are all really active on LinkedIn, so please connect with us if you want to do that now. You can just log on to LinkedIn and connect with all of us, I would suggest, with Helen, Ben, Hannah and myself. Think about also connecting with your peers on your course, connecting with your academic team, and really anyone you come into contact with. So again, at that careers fair, if you're going to come along to that, please feel free to connect with the employers that you're speaking to. And in fact, if you have a mobile device and you've got LinkedIn on your mobile, you can actually get a QR code. So that allows the employers just to really quickly scan your QR code and they've got your details, which could really be helpful, if they want to follow up with you about potentially applying for a role. So LinkedIn's a great platform in terms of networking, maybe getting information about particular companies or careers, and also opportunities as well. We have our social media platforms, so please feel free to follow us on, we've got Instagram, we've got Facebook, Twitter, etc. So please do follow us on those. They will also alert you to all the events and workshops that are taking place. And yeah, it's just another avenue for you to kind of keep up to date with what we're doing. Career Connect. So Helen's already sort of touched upon this and given us a demonstration on how to access appointments, how to look for events. But we've also got this really cool tool called Pathway. So these are like mini modules to help you prepare really for the recruitment process. So there are things on there like get CV ready. So if you are preparing your CV to send that out to employers, there's some really helpful tips and advice on there, as well as some mini videos on how to do that. If you're an international student, maybe wanting to work in the UK after study, again, there's a resource there, the Get Ready for International Students Pathway. You have also got access to My Plus Disability. This is for people with disability or health concerns, so you can also access that as well. That shares kind of information about sharing your health concern or disability and how you might ask for reasonable adjustments. So the pathways are really great, easy to use modules, and they're available 24/7. So experience, we're building on this from last year, really. We did encourage you last year in the first year just to try and get some experience, maybe join societies, starting to take on positions of responsibility. So we showed you something similar to this actually last year, just to give you some ideas in terms of what to do. But I think more importantly now than ever, this is the time to really think about getting experience outside of your degree on your CV. Employers will want to know about projects that you've done, research that you've undertaken, etc. But they will also want to know what you've done outside of your degree. So, for example, it may be that you're a carer outside of university time. You care for a child or a relative, and with caring comes massive responsibility. You have to be really organised. You may have to liaise with different professionals. So those skills are actually really relevant to what employers are looking for. So do think about examples of skills, of experiences that you can put on your CV. In terms of ideas, we've talked about the placement stuff. You are eligible, most of you, for the placement route. So I don't know how many of you are looking at placement options this year, but that is definitely a really worthwhile pathway to follow, undertaking an industrial placement. If you don't want to commit to the full year, a summer internship looks really great on your CV and gives you lots of skills. The Insight Weeks are still available, and they do typically target first year students, but there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't go along to many of the opportunities that are advertised. And again, they will be on Career Connect or a platform such as GradCracker. Part-time work is very much valued by employers, as is volunteering. We have got a volunteering page on the Career Service website, but please look at that for ideas if you're stuck. And of course, this year you have the opportunity to mentor other students in the first year. Maybe you were mentored yourself in the first year, so you can now become a past leader and get involved in that mentoring process. Societies, clubs, sports teams, becoming a student rep, all really relevant to put on your CV, shows that you have positions of responsibility, potentially leadership skills, communication skills. So do think about those options still for this year. Okay, applications. So we do encourage you to think about applying early. Some employers will indeed be advertising opportunities now for you as second year students. So there may be summer internships that are advertised now, and certainly placements if you are thinking about that industrial placement year. So I'm now going to talk about that apply stage and things to think about in terms of getting ready, being prepared, and making sure that as soon as you see a vacancy, you can respond to that quickly without delay. So we've got some great information and advice on our website. So finding jobs and experience, and then what is a placement. So we've got some really great tips on there, clarification about what a placement is. You will also have departmental guidance around what is eligible in terms of a placement. So if you've got any doubts as to whether the placement would be accepted, please do check with the department. Applications and interviews. If you haven't done applications before or have been for an interview before for a role, a position, it can feel quite daunting. So again, there's lots of support available from both the careers team, but also within your department. As Helen mentioned, we've got drop-ins, we've got appointments, so please do use those times to engage with us. So Career Connect to help you with that process when you're actually applying. You may be asked to attend a psychometric test by an employer as part of their recruitment process. So again, we don't want you going into that having never done a psychometric test before. So please do practice those. They're available there through Career Connect. And also we've got application and cover letter ready. Some of you may have never drafted a cover letter before, so we want to give you advice about that, offer you a way to structure that. So again, there's the resource there on the pathway tool on Career Connect. Interviews are probably one of the things that people find most daunting. So again, we want to support you with that and make you feel prepared and confident. So we've got a couple of options around this. We've got Shortlist Me, which is a recorded video simulation. So you will log in to Shortlist Me and you can access a series of interviews, and you essentially record yourself answering these interview questions. And it can feel a little bit strange, a little bit odd, because you're looking at yourself recording these responses. But actually, it's what employers are using now. They're using this technology to help with the recruitment process and decide who they want to shortlist. So it's really important you get familiar with this and you just feel a bit more confident using this software. The other option, of course, is a one-to-one interview. So Helen, Ben and myself offer these through Career Connect. You can book appointments. Please be careful with this, I think, because you only get one interview simulation per 90 days. So potentially that's only one per semester. So what I would suggest with that is if you are invited to a real job interview, perhaps you may want to use that interview simulation, that appointment, to practice for the real thing. You can use Shortlist Me to practice interviews anyway, but I think for the interview simulation with one of the consultants, it's probably good advice to think about using that for a real interview that you've got coming up. What I would say is if you still feel that you have lots of questions or you just feel really uncertain, please do use Career Connect and book an appointment to see Helen, Ben or myself. Or the other option is to drop into one of the sessions that we're running in either Alan Turing or the engineering building. We have also got the virtual drop-ins as well. So again, come along to those. Any questions you've got around employability, careers, we're more than happy to help answer those questions. I'm going to hand back to Helen now for the last couple of bits of advice. Helen, I'll hand back over to you.
Yeah, okay, let me just reshare my screen 1 second. This one, yes. Sorry. With you in a second, folks. Right, here we go. Hopefully you can see my screen. So yeah, just a final couple of slides here, just as a reminder of things that you could go away and do after this session. So first of all, register on Career Connect or go and have a look around and familiarise yourself with that if you haven't done already. Consider your options. Explore your sectors. Just start to think about that in terms of how you maybe find experience in those sectors that will help you ultimately when you graduate. Start to build your network. So Penny talked about LinkedIn there. I mentioned in the chat as well, just connect with us. If we are your first connections, that is absolutely fine. And use us to practice on in terms of how you send a connection request, and we'll always accept you if we know that you are a University of Manchester student. Apply for something so you are ready, but please do ask for help if you need it. So there's loads of resources we've talked to you about, but if you're still in that position where you're just thinking, I just want to ask someone, I want to talk it with someone, please do approach us through one of the ways that we have mentioned today. So there we go, that's it, folks. So thank you so much for maybe getting up a little bit earlier to come to this 9 o'clock session this morning. It is recorded. We will be sharing that recording and the slides as well and putting it on your Blackboard site, which I've put in the chat. So yeah, so have a great day, have a great semester. Look out for us on campus and come and say hello. We'll see you all. Take care, everyone. Thank you.